particular desire of the Aragian elves, an allegory if you like, of a love of machinery and technical devices, is also symbolized by their special friendship with the dwarves of Moria. Things not necessarily evil, but which, things being as they are and the nature and motives of the economic masters who provide all the means for their work being as they are pretty certain to serve evil ends, for which they will not necessarily be to blame, even if aware of them. Hey everyone, Yoyston here, and I hope you all are doing well, wherever you are in Middle-earth. Today we are going to be taking a look into why the technology of Middle-earth did not advance much throughout the ages. Related sources are in the description and cards. My friends, thank you all so much for joining me today. Let's begin our tale. In Tolkien's works, as it is in many different myths and legends, science, technology, and magic all kind of run together, so I will refer to some of it as techno-magic in this video. For Tolkien, especially how he described it in that quote at the beginning, those people that were deemed to be technologically advanced were the elves, particularly the Noldor of Beleriand and Eregion, the dwarves of Khazad-dum, and I would add the men of Numenor. Yet all of those folk still used the same overall kinds of weaponry, just more advanced and magical, again, techno-magical in a sense. They knew how to put magic or imbue certain alloys together in a way that better created weapons. Think the weapons of Gondolin, the advancements of Numenor, and the mithril workings of the dwarves. With that said, many of the techno-magical advancements that took place in Middle-earth were improvements on a certain medieval style of technology, if at all. The most powerful weapons and artifacts of Middle-earth were not in fact made in later and later years, but rather during the golden ages of the Elder Days, as well as into the Second Age. In a rather strange sense, the first swords came to be crafted during the late years of the trees, and by the end of the Third Age, thousands of years later in the world, swords were still the dominant weaponry of the peoples of Middle-earth. With again, those improvements that did occur, not simply coming in later ages, but during those golden years of earlier ages, when magic was stronger than in the later days. So other than the changing of magic, which actually in a sense somewhat devolved most weaponry from the Elder Days to the Third Age, why did technology overall not progress except in certain cultures during those certain golden ages, and only in some ways? In the world of Middle-earth, technology is not inherently virtuous, nor is it a curse either. Numenor's great ships, for instance, could sail across all of the seas of the world and transport many, many people. Again, it is not typically the technology itself that is of harm, in most cases. Rather, it is actually the feelings or motivators behind the technology and its creation that counts. Numenor had many of these incredible ships, but the cost was the ambition of men that drove to the great deforestation of central Eriador as well as other lands. It was not the mithril itself, but it was the greed of the dwarves of Khazad-dum to find more, which they would use to craft things with, that led to the discovery of the Balrog. It was the ambition of the elves, driven by the evil malice and dark will of Sauron, that led to the creation of the Rings of Power, which were some of the greatest techno-magical advancements ever created. And again, in many ways by themselves, not inherently evil, at least prior to the One Ring. Of course, there were a couple of these types of advancements, such as the explosives of Saruman or the One Ring itself, that were in their essence evil technologies made for evil purposes. But for the most part, the peoples of Middle-earth did not feel the innate desire to advance, as much as our own human history has indicated for ourselves. In our own history, we very much conquered nature, negating it as a general threat to our survival. I mean, when was the last time any of us really feared getting eaten by a mountain lion just on a general, average, ordinary day? We have conquered nature, but the people of Middle-earth did not see it that way, nor did they particularly want to conquer nature. Other than orc folk and sometimes dwarves, and maybe a few groups among men, most people instead commingled and thrived in their own natural landscapes in which they lived, which has always given Middle-earth and Tolkien's works overall a rather close connection with nature and a thematic love of it. Again, men had thousands of years to industrialize, and with the dwarves to trade with and the elves to learn from, I imagine they actually could have quite easily found coal and crafted steel with which to begin an industrial revolution. And since the age of technology that our world is currently in today was only a century or so after most industrial revolutions took place, it is easy to see that if the men of Tolkien's works were as ambitious to advance and conquer through technology as we ourselves were throughout our own real history, they certainly could have done so by the time of the events of The Lord of the Rings in the late Third Age, which would mean that the men of Gondor would have the same sort of technology we would have today in fighting the orcs. But again, this sort of advancement was not actually the goal, or so it seems to me, of most of the people of Middle-earth, as it was actually seen by most cultures to be far wiser and more virtuous to live in and alongside nature and honor ancient traditions and rituals, honoring the Valar as well, instead of replacing them with technology. Even in Gondor's Golden Age, which was in the first half of the Third Age, Gondor saw little in terms of techno-magical advancements, especially when compared to our Golden Ages or even the Elven Golden Ages of old. That also works reversely as well, though, as during our real Dark Age we saw a lot of loss. But during the Dark Age of Gondor, or something close to it, being Gondor in the late Third Age or so, technology actually saw little regression. People were sword and board in combat, living in relative medieval standards before and after the Golden and Dark Ages of different civilizations in Middle-earth. Golden and Dark Ages didn't really change much, but there is something to be said that Middle-earth's medieval living styles seem idyllic when compared to our own real medieval age, where there were tons of plagues and a lot more wars, and so on and so forth. What's more, war in real life saw many inventions and huge advancements in technology, but this is actually not the case in Middle-earth, as many civilizations actually stalled in their growth or even regressed during war, with the exception being Isengard, which flourished during the War of the Ring. After the fall of Gondolin, for instance, Eregion, Khazad-dum, and Numenor, through war or catastrophes, much, if not all of their techno-magical secrets were lost and were never found again, leading to a greater lamentation of the past and its secrets by people in later ages. I'm thinking about Faramir being sorrowful about Numenor, or the elves missing their own days and people of old, or the dwarves missing Khazad-dum. To summarize, Middle-earth's technology at large did not advance because the peoples of Middle-earth saw technology and the world overall differently than we do. Technology was not inherently good nor evil, notwithstanding the motives behind such advancements, and advancements were typically made upon pre-existing tech, such as creating better swords upon worse swords, rather than new inventions entirely. Yet these advancements only happened in a techno-magical sort of way during ancient Golden Ages, rather than progressing as time went on and more resources and ideas were discovered, as it was in our own history. War also got in the way of advancement, as well as the things which most of the people of Middle-earth actually valued, which was nature, tradition, and the preservation of their homelands. So there we have it, but is there anything else about this topic that I'm missing? Let me know in the comments below. And so, my friends, we come to the end of our tale. From this story, we see that the acceptance of what is more than enough for a happy life. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to hit that like button and share this with a friend. Let me know your thoughts, and if there was anything else about the technological advancements or lack thereof in Middle-earth that I missed in the comments below. I enjoy how the peoples of Middle-earth sought to commingle and enjoy the nature of their homeland, so much so that they actually valued that in many cases over advancements in technology, which would have changed things. Don't get me wrong, there is a lot to love about technology, but it is also safe to say that the simplicity of life gets far messier when it comes to these advancements happening as well. If you'd like to support the channel, please consider getting some candles from our friends Mythologie Candles, or order some Weta or United Cutlery Lord of the Rings swords, statues, and other replicas from Castle Kon, who does international shipping, and use the code WEST at checkout, and please check out our merch and Patreon. Thanks to our Valar tier patrons and YouTube members, Peter Shepard, John Hume, Maz Gibbs, Reese Jenkins, Arthur, Merlin, Theodore, Moon Viper, Andrew Carlisle, and Zoomi. Thank you so much to all of our patrons and YouTube members, it means a lot. Please subscribe and hit that bell button to join the Men of the West and all of the free peoples today, and I'll see you all again next week with a region spotlight on Rhûn and the East. My friends, thank you all so much for joining me on this adventure. Until the next one.